Well, if I had to pick a week to be self-isolating, and believe me, I don't think any of us want to be self-isolating, this would be the week to do it. Hey there, welcome back to True North Reviews. My name is Ryan, and today we are doing an episode of Hot and Cold. This is a video series I like to do where I talk about the best and the worst songs I heard over the past week. This week's episode, we'll be talking about songs released between April 5th and 11th, 2020. As always, the songs are linked down in the description if you want to check any of them out. And if you have any future suggestions, let me know. I'd appreciate it. As I prefaced in the intro, this past week was all about the isolation, quarantine. We've been doing that for a while now, but songs are definitely coming out. Now lyrics are definitely starting to show up and talk about that a lot more. So yeah, get used to it, I guess. A lot of songs are going to sound cringy. A lot of songs are going to be pretty good. Hopefully there's going to be some social commentary on this. And musicians, they are given the freedom to speak their minds and share their creative knowledge and just their skills and talent, all that kind of stuff. So let's get into it with the hot tracks. First up, we have 21 Pilots with Level of Concern, and right away we're getting into like a quarantine song here. It's a little danceable kind of pop track, and 21 Pilots, I think they own it. Oddly enough, it has like some EDM kind of build to the chorus as well, especially the final chorus. But for the most part, this song is incredible. I love the slick guitar and bass line. Nothing too heavy. It's pretty lighthearted and easy on the ears, which is something very different for 21 Pilots. Now, it does take a while for this song to hit its full stride, but I do love the hypnotic bridge. It builds a lot of suspense for the track, and it does pay off with a strong finish that just had me hooked, wanting more. Again, the lyrics, we can't avoid this topic of conversation, so I think 21 Pilots, they nail it. They have pretty reflective kind of thoughts put on this track. Obviously reflective on the time, but we have an interesting concept of just having this person look to a lover for reassurance, like, is everything going to be okay? And just wanting that person to lie to you. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's not cool to lie, but if you're going to look for happiness in life, sometimes we do want to hear the good in things, even if it is a lie. That's pretty cool to think about as like the psychology of humans, I guess. Moving on from there, another hot track this past week, Canadian artist Lennon Stella. Her new track is called Fear of Being Alone. This is an upcoming cut from her new album, which will be coming out at the end of April. Ironically, Lennon, she wrote this song. I don't know if she wanted it to be a single or not with how things are playing out in the world right now. The messaging and all that, yeah, we don't really want to be alone at this time, but I'm glad she put out this song one way or another. We got some alternative rock on this song. It's kind of mixed with some danceable elements. Catchy hook, great groove, my favorite single that Lennon has put out for this album cycle so far. Next up, we have a new song from Gorillaz featuring Peter Hook and Georgia. It is entitled Aries. I will admit, I haven't been the biggest fan of the Song Machine EPs that Gorillaz have been putting out this year, but this tune, much more commendable. The biggest surprise going on this track for me is just how it's influenced by noise rock. Like, I never thought Gorillaz would be taking this kind of path, but I applaud their effort to switch things up, remain versatile. I absolutely love the warbling synths on here, as well as the techno shots on the drums. The vocals, they're laid to tape as like this robotic, kind of distant kind of delivery. They don't really stick out too much, but that doesn't take away from their human emotion either. I also like the guitar. It's got the perfect amount of distortion, just gives the track a bit more grit. There are a lot of layers on Aries. Even the storm that ends up being in the background, the backdrop of this song, and the tail leg, the end leg, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't even feel out of place. So no complaints about Aries by Gorillaz. Next up is an artist, Baauer, and you haven't really heard that name since like 2012, most likely because of Harlem Shake. You remember that? Like the beat drop, and then everyone would be like switching up from like their normal clothes to like some costumes. I don't know, it's kind of weird. So yeah, Baauer is back. My curiosity got the best of me here, just wanting to see what he's done, how he's switched up his style or anything like that. This new track from him on my hot tracks this week is called Planets Mad. It's a pretty good song. I don't know, a lot of people will think that Baauer is a one-hit wonder, but this one, to be reintroducing myself to him at this point of his career, I'm happy to be doing it. For the most part, Planet's Mad as a song is just unpredictable with each passage. It's a little experimental. I like the twists and turns to it. It fits the title of the track very well. Baauer tastefully weaves in the guitar. I wouldn't really expect much guitar for an electronic kind of song, but it's in there. And honestly, if it were a bit more melodic, I could see this fitting onto the new Flume mixtape from last year. Yeah, weird comparison, but it might have slid on there. Another hot track from this past week, we have Phoebe Bridgers with Kyoto. I loved everything that Phoebe brought to the Boy Genius EP a couple years back. A truly timeless kind of EP. Now we have the singer-songwriter Phoebe back, and she has announced a new album. It is on the way. It will feature 11 songs, and it will be entitled Punisher. Speaking more about the single Kyoto, though, what's there not to love here? The trumpet is incredible. It just it finds its way into the interlude even a bit more towards the end of the song. Kyoto might be a straightforward indie track, but it is full to the brim with passion and just a great hook. Last week saw Charli XCX put out a new song. It's called Forever. The verses, my god, they are chaotic. They are incoherent at times, very experimental. I appreciate the angelic vocals in the chorus because that melody is so sweet, so soothing. It contrasts that skittering and blaring instrumental in the verses. It will sound pretty jarring to a lot of people. It sounded like that to me at first. I didn't know if I was going to like it, but multiple listens afterwards, this thing's quickly growing on me, even with the longing and nostalgic lyrics. Keeping the hot tracks rolling, we have My Friend by Hayley Williams. This one didn't hit me instantly in the same way that the last single from Hayley put out last week, Over Yet, but there's still something to enjoy here, especially with the bridge, with the mixing of the drums that rattle around both channels. Even the ASMR type vocals from Hayley on here are pretty spine-chilling. Last point I'll make about Hayley Williams this week, though, I don't know what to expect for this new album from her. Like, she's putting something out next month. She's been dropping singles, so many of them this year, and she's been using the same kind of artwork. I guess they're all going to be on that project. I don't know. It's going to be an eclectic kind of release. If I could predict anything, we'll see. We'll see. But moving on from there, we have Godspeed Rebel by the Trews. This is a Canadian rock band who are kind of lost in the shuffle. I haven't really heard much from them in the past couple years in terms of new material. I did catch them on tour last year. So at least they are breaking the studio silence with this new track, Godspeed Rebel, which this one's a bit weird. We have a faint banjo being plucked in the chorus. So yeah, this tune has a bit of a country tinge to it, which I wasn't expecting from the Trews. Either way, we still have a strong chorus, those guitars that are always so dominant and present in the mix. Now, the drums, they aren't recorded in the best way. They aren't like produced or mixed in the best way. Super compressed, if I had to say so. But if you accept that fact, this is still a hot track, and that is the last one that I have for this week. Now, moving on to the middle of the road tracks. These are okay, not amazing, not terrible. Still something to keep in mind. First up, we have the new Selena Gomez tracks. Two of the three are landing here, Boyfriend and... no, not Boyfriend. Souvenir and She. Boyfriend will end up being a cold track for me this week. Didn't really enjoy it that much. Now, if you want to hear more on my thoughts on those specific songs, please check out my new Selena Gomez track review. There'll be plenty of stuff to say there. Back on track with the middle of the road this week, though, we have a Liam Payne feature, and this is better than being on the cold tracks, I guess, for Liam. Many people would know I've given LP1 a 0 out of 10, which I still stand by that. It's a terrible album, if not one of the worst. It might be the worst of the 2010s. I don't know. So yeah, Liam, he's featuring on this song by Alesso. I think that's how you pronounce it. It's called Midnight. This one's got a weird kind of meshing of styles on here. Like the verses are folk inspired, and then we move and progress towards this trap or EDM beat drop. Kind of weird stuff to listen to. Liam, he's got a powerful performance on here. He really digs down and just projects his voice. It's much better than anything he had on LP1. The presentation of his vocals kind of reminds me of like Infinity on the last One Direction album that we've got. Obviously on Midnight, though, it's not like this ballad approach. It's a bit of a EDM banger, or at least it's trying to be. The song, Midnight, the tune, it's okay. It's not amazing, but certainly, again, better than anything on LP1. Leon Bridges is back this week. He's brought along, I guess, a friend, John Mayer. So yeah, he's featuring on the new song that they put out together. It's called Inside Friend. This is like this sultry R&B cut about a friend, during quarantine. The lyrics, they come across a little cringy. They're too on the nose. I just can't take them seriously. There might just be this coy double entendre, and I don't really feel comfortable listening to that. The chorus is also really underwhelming. I would have expected a bit more from Leon. I know he's been spoiling us with a lot of great songs, but this one I didn't really come away with the same sense of enjoyment. It's not all negatives though. I do appreciate the guitar solo from John at the end of the song. He's really been boring me with his music lately, so it's nice to hear him step it up a bit. He is thankfully bringing a lot more to the table on this new track by Leon Bridges. Next up, we have Halfway Home by Jess. I'm not sure how you pronounce her last name, honestly, and I should know because I'm Canadian and I'm not really doing her justice, but Moskaluke, I'm not 100% sure. Anyways, this new song, Halfway Home, it's pretty limp, pretty flaccid. It is a country tune. Country, not really my thing. It's passable, though, this one. Jess is certainly not as irritating as an artist in the vein of Sam Hunt, especially from last week's Hot and Cold, but she sounds like she's wearing her influences on her sleeves too much here. Maybe channeling a bit of Shania Twain. I do love Shania Twain. I want a bit more personality from Jess to come out in the future. Alec Benjamin is the next artist I want to talk about. 6 Feet Apart is the name of his new single, and if that is not the most blatant reference to social distancing, then I don't know what is. Alec is releasing this one. It's a non-album single, so it's not going to end up on that project that's due at the end of May. He's pretty much released half of this album at this point. I haven't really gotten around to it. I will get on it eventually. But this new one, 6 Feet Apart, it's got this hazy atmosphere. It's got some things going for it. I do like it. The lead vocals sound pretty raw. There's a slight filter on them just to keep the track compelling. And it also feels like a Sleeping at Last kind of tune. I just feel like it's a little boring for my liking. I don't know. Next up, Big Sugar. Wonder Woman is the name of this new one from Big Sugar. This is a Canadian rock band. We've got this rustic recording going on here. It's Head of the Herd kind of stuff. Now, Big Sugar, the interesting thing with them, they were a part of my childhood growing up. I was a little nervous to hear what they'd put out here since I thought they would have just morphed into this dad rock kind of band and would have just fully embraced that. But you know what? Wonder Woman is not nearly as bad as I thought it would have been going into it. And wrapping up this week, we have to talk about the cold tracks, which thankfully there's only one this week. Only have to talk about one bad song. Now, the only thing about it though, it's one of the worst ones I've heard this year. It is called Mamacita by Black Eyed Peas, Ozuna, and J. Ray Soul. This thing is Latin garbage. The first 10 seconds was telling. I didn't really have to listen to much more, even though I did at least get through it twice, because that's what I try to do before I completely pass something off as terrible. It might take a lot less for other people to understand that though, because the vocal mixing is laughably atrocious. Ozuna is way too quiet. Will.i.am, he is sounding way too loud, and it's not a nice contrast at all. It cuts through like a knife. Fergie says, "Put me in the mix." I don't know if she just wants to be put in that terrible mix of the other vocals. She wants to be on here in the most obnoxious way. The other members of Black Eyed Peas, they're without vigor or energy. I don't think many people really look to the Black Eyed Peas for much more than Will.i.am and Fergie anyways. To make matters worse though, the instrumental, it is so bland, it is dated. It sounds like it was meant to be put out during like the Latin craze of the mid-2010s, but Black Eyed Peas were just too embarrassed to put it out, and I get why. It is a terrible song. In fact, one of the worst that I've heard this year, and I wouldn't be at all shocked if this ended up on my worst songs of 2020. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the new songs of the past week, hot and cold. Make sure you sound off down below in the comments. Let me know what you think of the music. Tell me if I was wrong, if I was right, all that kind of stuff. You know the drill. Whatever you want to say, down there it goes. As always, thanks for watching. If you want to leave a like, subscribe if you're new in town, I'd appreciate that very much, and have a rockin' day.